This morning I got to see, I went for a run down at the boardwalk and where I live, and there was I heard and I'll give you guys a little quiz at first. So what I heard coming kind of from like low in the shrubs was, anyone have a guess about what that is? You can just shout it out if you want or put it in the chat. Nice. Bill says catbird. Good morning from Ontario. Hi. Good morning from Raleigh. Hello, hello. Yeah. Good evening from Israel on the first day of spring. Hello. It's so nice. Yeah, it was a catbird, which is, it kind of gives away or it's named for that call that it makes. Sounds like a cat meowing. And yeah, so that was sweet. That's the first one I've seen this season and heard. I didn't get to see it after, but anyway, things are just changing so fast here in New England right now. And I hope you all are having a beautiful spring at the moment and getting to soak in some of the goodness. And I suppose that's why we're all here, to soak in some goodness together. So yeah, find a comfortable spot to sit, either outside or inside. If you're inside, then if you could crack just like make your window open just a little bit so you can at least hear the sounds of the outdoors. If not, that's fine. We'll just navigate however you can navigate. And then, yeah, so go find your comfortable spot. You can have a cup of tea. I got my tea with me today. Whatever makes you cozy so that you can relax. Because really, when I was out there at the boardwalk this morning, I sat for a little while and wanted to bring this idea this morning to our sit. And that's something that I like to share from time to time. And it's this idea of apart, the word apart. So it's either a part, like a part of, or apart, like apart from, A-P-A-R-T, like one word. And so the idea is, how can we become more a part, like a two-word thing, a part of the natural world outside, rather than a part from the natural world, like separate from. And there's some little like tricks you can use to do that. And one of them is being able to quiet yourself inside. So if you're comfortable and cozy, now, of course, there are people in the world. I used to be I still am sort of part of this gang of folks who like to challenge themselves physically outdoors in nature. And so that's cool if you're one of those folks who wants to push your edges. If you're not one of those folks who wants to physically push your edges in that way, then just make yourself cozy, because the cozier you can be, it's sort of like the less you have to think about, and the less you're thinking about, the more a part of the natural world you can be. So I'm all for people just being comfy and cozy, to just take that one extra thing off of your mind. So make yourself cozy, put your feet on the ground, on the earth, if you're near the earth, or on the ground, whatever that may be below you, if you're inside. And just let yourself feel the ground beneath your feet. Feel your shoes, maybe your bare feet, whatever it might be at the moment. Let yourself just touch in with what that feels like. To feel grounded for just this moment right now in time. Allow yourself to ground through your feet. And then take a nice big deep breath in all the way from your toes, from your feet, from the groundedness you feel. Take a deep breath in through your body and just let it rise all the way up. Let that groundedness just come over your body, wash over your body. And then let it pass out. Just out through your nose or your mouth. People have different ways of breathing, whatever works for you. You can go in through your nose, out through your mouth if you'd like to. Some people do in through the nose, out through the nose. And just do that a couple times. Take a nice big deep breath in. And then out at your own rhythm. You don't have to match mine. Letting the groundedness just wash over your body. And take stock, noticing how your body is feeling right now. Do you have tension in some places? Do you feel any aches and pains? Do you feel joy and happiness and openness, freedom anywhere in your body? Is there any giggles that you might feel or experience in your body right now? And to whichever sensation you would like to do this for, choose one of those sensations and let's send some of that grounded energy toward that sensation. So maybe it was tension, maybe it was love, whatever it is that you're feeling and you want to focus on. Just pull up that groundedness from the earth and send your breath to that place, allowing you to become part of the rhythm of the earth so that your body can match that grounded rhythm that is the earth right now. As you take your next breath in, see if you can smell the air, noticing how it might be different this week from last week. I know for me here, there's a little bit of a scent of crushed leaves and grass even right now. Now go ahead and take your eyes, and if you've been to this practice before, you know where we're going with this. So find a point off in the distance as far as you can possibly see. And again, if you're inside and that's just a wall in front of you, that's fine. Just whatever is the farthest from you at the moment. And really just focus on that one point. Just let yourself experience that focus for a moment. And then as you're focusing on that one point, let the periphery, this portion of your vision, just soften and expand. See how far out, while you're still looking at that one point, see how far out in your peripheral vision you actually can see in all directions, up, down, side, right, left, whatever it is. Just take it all in as you're still following the rhythm of the earth and that grounded feeling that's coming up through your feet. Just noticing what you're seeing, what motions are coming about. Right now for me, there's a little feather that just fell off of a bird and it's floating down to the earth. It's really good for us to soften our gaze like this. We so often spend much of our lives these days focused very close in front of us, whether it's a computer screen, the car that we're driving, a book, whatever it is, we're often just kind of like right here. And so when we can look off in the distance and then soften our gaze, it's really good for our eyes and our nervous systems as well. It's taking in all of life. And as we do this with each breath, we're becoming more and more tapped into that natural rhythm of the earth right now, allowing us to become more a part of the natural world and someone that the birds and the squirrels and the other animals out there may not be so afraid of anymore. And so now, while you're still focusing on your breath and that one point in front of you with your softened gaze, with your owl eyes, I'd like you just to listen to all the sounds around you at the moment. Just take them all in. And find one that strikes your curiosity, something that makes you a little curious. You have some wonder attached to that sound, whatever it may be. And bring your awareness really kind of focused on that one sound. Letting yourself dive deeply into the textures, the sensations, everything that it is that that sound is. Wonderful. I just felt myself take what I've started to call a deep dog sigh. If anyone has a dog, you've ever seen your dog kind of just sort of settle in, and all of a sudden it does this, it kind of just sort of like puffs out all its air, and it just feels like this true, like deep, real deep sense of relaxation. And sometimes that just spontaneously happens in my body, and I always try to take note of that, just because for me it does indicate a real deep sense of calm and peace. I just had that happen just a moment ago. I had a deep dog sigh. So let's spend a few moments. We're going to be in silence for a little bit, and I'll put my computer on mute so that you don't hear the sounds that are my sounds here. You can be present with your own. And just stay in this grounded state, looking off into whatever direction inspires you. And as you look around, as you gaze around, allow yourself to linger on something that strikes your curiosity, but do that with a softened gaze. It's kind of different. It's a different energy that you put out there when your gaze is soft, like owl eyes, than when you're really focused and intent on figuring something out. Just see what that's like. We're going to practice a couple of things this morning to allow ourselves to become more a part of the natural world around us. So we'll sit for about, let's see, what is it? I'd say about 4 or 5 minutes, and then I'll call us back. I'll say something to bring us back to the present moment. So we're going to sit for 4 or 5 minutes in silence, just allowing the sounds around you to sounds and sights and all of that to wash over you, and let yourself linger in those right now. Right, so just nice and gently can stay right in the state that you're in, nice and calm. Just checking in. Sometimes when we do a practice like this, where um, we attempt to connect more deeply with the natural world, sometimes judgments can come in. It's easy to judge, be like, oh, I looked too long, or maybe I was too loud and I snapped a stick and it broke, and you might get a little hard on yourself for those kinds of things. And I just like to encourage folks to remember what it was like to be a 7-year-old, you know, just that element of play that came into more of what you did. Or maybe if it wasn't that way for you, you can think of a 7-year-old that you might know, or one that you've gotten to hang out with. And I don't know, maybe it's not that way with 7-year-olds these days, but I hope it still is, that that they can have that sense of play in life. And I'll tell you one quick story. So I was teaching a bird language class for the instructors at the Boulder Outdoor Survival School. We call it BOSS. It's based in Utah. And they wanted to learn bird language. They're really amazing individuals in terms of survival and their ability to teach people how to do that. But no one had ever really talked to them much about bird language. And so we were on like the second day of the class, and I had everybody practicing. We were playing a game basically, where you get to be birds and whatnot. And so everyone was trying out walking kind of quietly. So we teach them owl eyes, like I've taught you guys. We also teach them a way of walking, which, one of my teachers calls fox walking. It's like where you walk softly like a fox, with your toes, instead of heel, ball, toe, like most of us are taught, you walk toe, ball, heel. So it's a quieter kind of way to walk. It's like tiptoeing, like you did when you were a kid. And so we were playing this with the instructors. And this happens with most people when they try it out for the first time. When you first try out fox walking, the look on everybody's faces was like really serious and really intent. Like, I am going to be a good fox walker, like I am going to walk steadily and quietly. And then so I had them practice that back and forth a couple of times. And then I said, all right, now what I want you to do is try this out as if you were a 7-year-old. It's like bring your 7-year-old self right now to this idea of fox walking. And how would you do it? And all of a sudden, and I'm not joking, like we were kind of in a forest, sort of open desert land there, but like there was some trees where we were. And it was almost instantly, these instructors who were all around me, like some of them just vanished. Like they just became invisible. Like I didn't see them anymore because they became so soft in their body when they brought in that playfulness that they really blended into the landscape much more when they were like trying to get it right, So yeah, I just want to take that on with you all right now and try that out. So see what it's like, or who do you have to be? That might be a better question. Who do you have to be right now to be a part of the world around you, a part of the natural world? And just try that out for this next little bit while we sit. So we'll sit for might go a little bit longer this time. Let's go for 6 or 7 minutes. And just let yourself play with that question and see what comes up for you. And I'll bring us back when that's done. All right. Let's bring ourselves back to the moment. Let's take a second or as long as you want, and offer your own sense of gratitude and thankfulness to all those ones that are around you right now that have contributed to your experience and your sit in this moment, that contribute to your life on a daily basis. Just take a moment and offer thanks in our own way. Thank you, everybody. So we'll open it up now for any questions or stories, any mysteries that came up, whatever you want to share. So you can either physically raise your hand or do your computer hand down at the bottom. Just move your cursor and there's that. I always forget what it is, but you all are pretty good at that stuff by now. Reactions, I think it is, maybe. You can raise your hand. So if anyone would like to share, just go ahead and raise your hand and I'll call on you. Oh yeah, Sandy, go ahead.
Okay, well, being a 7-year-old, the trees, I'd be out climbing those trees right up there, you know. That's what really, that's a lot what came to me. The fun of and climbing the different ones I could climb, you know, not too tall or anything, just go up a little ways on the tall ones. But that's what I'd be doing at 7. I know I'd be out there doing that. And
Yeah. What is that when you think about doing that, Sandy? What does that feel like in your body? Like to imagine doing?
a positive, you know, feeling, a good feeling, like, you know, more energy than I was
Yeah.
feeling before, and joyful and freedom a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would have never thought of that if you hadn't brought it up.
Hmm.
Because of course I'm not going to be climbing trees now. But
Yeah. That's, I think, go ahead.
oh no, that's okay. Oh, we did a lot of that until I, you know, was 12 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how you brought up the word freedom because I think that's a big part of it. I think sometimes our adult mind can sort of weigh us down with the thoughts and judgments and supposed to's, you know, and shoulds and all that stuff. And I think that just makes our mind a bit more busy. But when we are just playful, we have that freedom. And I do think that there's ways to still have that sense. You know, we can bring that back to us, and we don't necessarily have to actually climb the tree to have that, you know, but just to remember what that was like and maybe ask that question of like, how else can I have that sense of joy and play and freedom, you know, now in a different sort of phase in my life and whatever it may be. And yeah, that'd be an interesting exploration maybe to try out this week, Sandy.
Oh, how I can feel it with in another way, or
Yeah. Yeah, because really, I think that's a big a sort of one way that the world will start to feel more at peace and sort of safer around us is when we have more of that freedom from the thoughts, from the judgments, from the shoulds, and all that kind of stuff. You know? Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Sandy. I'm really grateful that you shared that. Yeah, it's a good image to think about climbing the trees and just having that playfulness. Thank you. Hmm. All right. Anybody else want to share? For hands. Oh yeah, I see Cindy. Go ahead, Cindy. Hi.
Well, I remembered when I was 7 for some reason. Well, you know, we wore dresses to school back then. For some reason at recess, I liked to just twirl hard, twirl and twirl and twirl until I fell down on the grass and just watch everything. It would spin for a while, and then it would slow down. And it kind of reminded me of practicing the owl eyes, just a different way than the linear way I look at things. So that's what came to mind.
Gosh, I haven't thought. I used to do the same thing, and I love that feeling of. And you just lay there, and you just sort of like wait until the world sort of stops spinning, but you let the spinning happen. And it's just sort of like this like wonder moment. You're just like, whoa, the world's spinning, and I'm just gonna stay here and let it spin. And like,
Ah,
yeah, yeah. That's a really beautiful image, really just to again, that's that sense of freedom and I think patience, or like it's maybe not so much patience, but it's just sort of like really being in the moment. It feels like you're really truly just being in the moment, like you're just spinning and you fell down and you're just gonna be there, just gonna let yourself just like be on the grass and stay in that moment. And yeah, that's it. That's really it. Thanks, Cindy. That's awesome. I hope you get to do that. Try that out again. Yeah. All right. Hey, Carol. Hi.
There we go. Hi. I am like so excited. I have so many birds here today. And I was watching the robins just having a field day in the yard, and the blackbirds like hanging out under the leaves, like looking for food. I was so glad I left them the leaves so they could do that. And red-bellied woodpeckers. I mean, it's just like a field day. But when I'm thinking about what I still do that I loved to do when I was 7, is to lay on the ground and look at the sky and to feel the earth, like feel my whole body touching the earth. And then just like noticing the clouds, or especially at night, watching the stars, to me is just one of the most awesome things, is to lay on the ground and watch the stars.
Yeah. Totally. I feel that same, yeah, I can just feel all those moments, for me as well, and just letting ourselves be. It's like I think, and as an adult, I think sometimes we might need some permission to do that, either privacy or permission, just to let yourself lay on the ground wherever you are and just watch the world go by. And that feels like a moment of a deep dog sigh, or just to like watch the clouds float by, and God, how relaxing that is. And you still get to do that. You still practice that, huh, Carol?
Yeah, I do. I used to go out when I lived in Vermont, where I lived didn't have a lot of light pollution.
Yeah.
And I would go out and the sky is so different every night. It was just, to me, one of the most amazing things, to observe in the world. Is sort of the mystery, and then knowing that light started its journey eons ago, to be able to be seen by my, and everyone else's, but for our human eyes to be able to observe it is just, I've been reflecting a lot on, my connection all the way back to like when life began in the world, and how many creatures and people have been a part of making it possible for me to be here today.
Yeah.
Really honoring that with life. It's really a gift.
Yeah, I agree with you. And again, I think it's like allowing ourselves to be in that place of wonder. Then we get into that rhythm of what's natural, that natural rhythm when we're just in wonder and awe and beauty. Then we can be tapped into the rhythm of the world. And that's not to say that I always sort of preface this for people when we do this kind of exercise, that of course it's, there is the gift of walking around with sort of the mind of the 7-year-old, or the freedom, we should say, of many 7-year-olds. But then of course it's really good to be the adult as well, because you have to watch out for the predators and all those things that are dangerous the 7-year-old might not be paying attention to. So it's kind of like we get to find that balance, between like we've got the gift of the adult mind, but without losing that wonder and that beauty that the young mind has, and the young body, has the ability to have those experiences that I think really can get us, more easily connected to nature. So awesome, Carol. Thank you. Thanks for that. Yeah. Sweet. Hi, Phyllis. Go for it.
Good morning. I just had to come inside and it struck me how sad this was because the sit was wonderfully quiet except for the birds that were going crazy right near me because I have a feeder near me. I was so lucky. And I had this extraordinary experience with the birds. And then right just before I came inside, a lawnmower started and I realized how intrusive the humans are to the natural world and how annoying that sound is and how grating it is compared to the hummingbirds clicking above me. And suddenly, instead of one hummingbird, which is I'm used to seeing him on a regular basis, morning and evening, there were three of them clicking and making that wonderful sound. And then I had this mob of finches and the California towhees. I'm a Connecticut resident living in California, so I'm still adjusting to a different birding experience. And all these birds were so trusting and so quiet in their sounds. And then this human interfered, and it was just so grating. And I realized how lucky we are when we have the quiet. And the other thing that struck me, which I'll stop talking, I'm sorry, it was a lovely experience. The other thing that struck me is that I have managed this year to watch the leafing out of the trees around me for the first time because I'm living in a place like that. And that in itself is a glorious feeling that I've watched something looking dead grow to green beauty. It was a lovely sit. I'm sorry to be so lengthy.
No, it's your comments are very welcome, Phyllis. So thank you for all of that. I just noticed my first bud today. It feels like just a week ago there were no buds, and now all of a sudden there's all these little buds coming out. It's like, oh wow, yeah, it's such a gift to watch life emerging, you know. And I think just tapping into that conversation around the human noises. I think honestly, this is my perspective on this, that sometimes why I think so many people in our world today don't slow down to connect is because it can be really confronting, you know, the kind of world that we have created and how separate and sort of distant it can be from what's natural and the natural rhythm of things. And so when we are someone who does take the time to slow down, tap in, listen more deeply, we become more sensitive, and that can be hard. You know, it can be really hard to be someone who's sensitive because you feel it in the way that nature feels it, you know. And yeah, it's still, but to remain, one of my teachers always speaks about that, like, don't let yourself get, what does he say, not depressed, but it's like just kind of hammered down by that, you know, like still retain the ability to see and be with the beauty, you know, like, yeah, it sucks, and it's hard to, you know, be in that like glorious moment with the birds and so quiet, and you're starting to hear the sensitivities, you know, where you can hear the 3 hummingbirds instead of just the 1, and then the lawnmower starts, you know, and it's just like rah, or like a leaf blower or something like that, you know, just sort of like disrupts all of it, and then it sort of all disappears. It's like you were allowed to like enter this little magic world for a moment, you know, and like you're in the middle of it, and then all of a sudden someone like rips you back out. You know, you're like, no, I don't want to leave. You know, it's not fair. So I feel you there, Phyllis, for sure. Yeah, thanks for bringing that aspect of it up. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I see Karen. Hi, Karen Zimmerman. Good to see you. Oops, you're still muted. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you were talking, the lawnmower noise, you know, I'm that same way with my highway here. It's just, you can't get away from it. And, you know, you're sitting there, you listening to something, and then boom, all of a sudden here comes the semi. It's like, go away, you know? And it just seems like it's a much busier road than it used to be. And I'm always like talking to the highway going, where are you all going, and why just stay home, go away, you know, leave me in my peace. And it'll get better when the leaves get on the trees. It kind of muffles it, but it's still, you know, but I have woods I can, you know, cruise off into and kind of get away. Yeah, you can still somewhat hear the highway noise, you know, even there, but it's not as bad. So, but
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely not easy. I know I've heard of some people like trying to turn the noise of the highway into like in their minds making it into like the ocean, you know? Like maybe it's just the sound of waves, you know, and but it's hard. I know it's not an easy thing to again to become more sensitive. It comes with some pain.
Yep.
Thanks for sharing, Karen.
It's been a wonderful bird sit. I've enjoyed it. I'm just sitting out on the ground.
Right on. Yeah. Where are you calling in from, Karen?
Missouri.
Missouri. Awesome.
It's finally, it's going to get cold another day or two, but it's finally starting to come along. I noticed my lilacs were starting to bud, and I had my first daffodil bloom yesterday, so it's getting there. I've been sitting here plucking dandelion greens off the ground, so
Right on. That's
I'm
awesome.
pickled, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm having breakfast while I'm bird sitting here.
Good for you, foraging in your lawn. I love that.
Yeah, I got quite a bit of stuff here. I usually do pretty good, but
Right on. Thanks, Karen.
you're welcome.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Judith. Go ahead.
Hello, here in Maryland, where spring is springing. We have the other night I was sitting out here with the spring peepers over by the creek, and the soft song of the American toad, you know, that very soft on top of that. So I knew spring was coming. But I grew up in Massachusetts, near Cape Cod. So a little different. My 7-year-old self was thinking about how I used to go out to the pine woods, which we have a lot of pine there, and find a little clearing. This is what I was thinking, because I could hear the sound of the wind and smell a little of the pine here, and it reminded me of that. And I would find this little protected place, especially in the spring, where everything was a little cool, but you could find this little grove of pine, and there were a lot of pine needles on the ground, and I would lay down on the very warm pine needles and smell that and listen to the wind. And I hadn't thought about that in years. And I think, oh, that would be so much fun to do again. And it's almost like you were saying, it's apart and apart. So I would find this kind of little secret place and be but a part of nature. And so that was really a wonderful bird sit for me. So thank you.
Oh, I didn't expect this. It's been so sweet for me just to sort of travel back with all of you to some of your really most lovely and tender memories, you know, and just inspiring me to want to do all of this now, finding places where I can. A lot of you are speaking about lying on the ground, you know,
Yeah.
and just how, yeah, as like a 7-year-old, we just sort of naturally wanted to lie on the ground more. And I imagine that something there, you know, that maybe that could be a good exercise for this week, as all of us try to find a place where we can just lie on the ground for a few minutes, you know, and maybe that'll transpire into many more minutes. But just, you know, thank you. That's really beautiful, Judith.
Sure. Thanks, Kristi.
Yeah, you're welcome. Maggie, were you raising your hand? I see a little wave. That's okay. Okay, great. Awesome. Miss Molly, did you want to offer anything or share anything, or you just want to?
Been so inspired at different moments throughout the shares. And yeah, last time we talked a lot about putting our feet on the ground, and now you're talking about putting that all I want is back of my heart on the earth. After this call, I'm gonna lay right back and do it. It's been a huge healing practice at different parts of my life. Yeah, I just want to say that sometimes when I sit, I don't realize, like, you know, what I'm holding, where I'm not breathing. And then over the course of the sit, I feel these little invitations to let go and release and let energy move through me. And it reminds me almost the way different birds visit. Like sometimes birds are like like a sensation or a thought are kind of off in the thicket, and they're kind of, you know, gently going by, and then sometimes they come right in next to me and startle me, and they're right in the bush, and they have my attention with like a rapt attention, and then they disappear. And it's kind of a great practice for just flowing through life, where things come and go, and sometimes they're intense and sometimes they're not so much, and they're different types of invitations for attention, and also, you know, choosing how I can respond to each of them. So I just feel like the sit is a good practice ground for that. And I've loved so much how we began with the Love of Birds Festival in the winter, when it was so quiet and cold, and, you know, mostly the birds were flitting about, not making too much noise. And now I just close my eyes and I'm listening to this chorus of all these birds coming and waking up and calling to each other, and all their different songs and melodies, like every radio station, soft rock, you know, hip hop, classical, all playing at the same time. Like they all just go off. But you can still hear them. And, you know, to the folks talking about the traffic, and I just have a big truck going by now, and just keep working on that equanimity and listening and like acknowledging those loud sounds and befriending them as much as we can, and listening for those quietest sounds. Because I just came back from a hearing test and my scores were off the charts, because all the hearing tests were like this: coo, 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 ka, 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 kee, 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 kee. And I was like, I'm listening to birds. And they said my hearing was really good. I had to credit the birds for it because I just been listening through the traffic, you know, past the sounds of the jackhammer or whatever. Anyway, so sometimes those things are good challenges for our senses. And the last thing I wanted to say was, when I came out to my sit, I started like hustling to my sit. I was like, no, fox walk to my sit. Because I wanted to see like which birds might be like right at my sit that I didn't realize were there. And if I had gone too fast, I would scare them before I even got there. So maybe with our sits this week, just keep enjoying the fox walk on the way, and see what, you know, who might be there that you didn't know was chilling at your spot.
Ooh, good challenge, Molly. That's great. And I love the sort of just that, I guess also another adventure or challenge you're posing, which is sort of like becoming more of a, I guess, a bird loving ninja. You know, if you do live somewhere where it's loud and there's traffic and whatnot, to try to listen through that for the bird sounds and songs, because they're still there, right? But sometimes it might be harder to hear it. And so it's like almost, yeah, your skills almost have to bump up a little bit, you know, when you're in situations like that. I like that challenge there. That's really inspiring.
Yeah, and dealing with the anger.
Yeah.
You know, the less reaction. Like sometimes when the traffic goes by, I just let it go, like a rumble through my heart. I can feel the sensation of the sound, and I try not to resist it, so that by the time that truck is kind of in the rear view, I'm already back to hearing the birds. So it like allows for faster relaxation time, and like then I can attune to the birds more easily. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. I'm just going to share a couple, and then we'll probably wrap it up here soon. But I just want to share a couple of the chats. Some people said, thank you. What a lovely moment to have this prolonged moment of soft view. Becoming a hiding fox has been very helpful and playful, popping my head around the corner of the oak trunk. Oh, that's such a cool image. And then let's see, Phil says, sitting near my bird feeder and being still brought a mob of finches. Awesome. California towhees and scrub jays. And it was like a dance of winged friends. What it does is bring close how lucky I am to be near them without frightening them off. Thank you for the great sit. And someone else, Anat, says, thank you for this and for the amazing time of being together, connecting and healing from different parts of the world. I love that, Anat. Thank you for that. Yep, so true. I'm probably not going to read all of them at this time. Everyone's saying thank you, thank you, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for giving me a reason to come and do this today. And yeah, it's something maybe I wouldn't make this space for myself as much, but I get to with you all. So thank you, everybody. And yeah, we'll see you next week. I think, Molly, are you leading next week, or is that me again?
I think we're going back and forth, but whatever you want, Kristi.
Yeah, no, I think it's you now. So awesome. Thank you, everybody. You're welcome to take yourself off of mute if you want to say goodbye. Yeah, we'll see you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Happy spring.